everybody. I'm Kate Boytek, and I host the self-love podcast, Quality and You. I have a very special guest with me today, Mat Shaffer, a former attorney who is now an empowerment, connection, and relationship coach for women. And let me tell you, folks, he is incredible at what he does. I know firsthand because I took his Mastery of Connection course that I will link in the description below for you all to sign up, because he's having a free beta next month. And you guys do not want to miss that opportunity. So I do want to take a minute to just say the Mastery of Connection course that I took from Mat has truly provided the foundation to which I stand on all of the ways that I approach relationships in my life today. It's been about 6-8 months ago that I started the course, and I actually was lucky enough to get picked to to do a Zoom, like a live Zoom thing with Mat, and got to ask him a question. I had came straight out of a divorce, and I was feeling pretty defeated in all of my efforts and pretty fearful in looking into new experiences, fearful of the dating world, dating apps, anything dating with anyone in any aspect. So I came on and asked him, and that's going to be how we're going to kick this off. I want to just kind of revisit that little question. I said, Mat, I need you to help me. I feel very fearful, and what can I do to release this fear and approach this dating and this new experience that, you know, is just totally new in every way for me? And he gave me the most beautiful advice and told me to lean in. And I have so many listeners that are in that place. And I was hoping that you may elaborate on that a little more for them, because you did for me. And it truly helped me in overcoming all those fears.
That's beautiful, Kayla. I so appreciate that. And I appreciate being on here with you. You're such a bright light and such a huge heart, you know, and it's just so beautiful to see you sharing it with the world like this on your podcast and with your singing and all the amazing things that you're doing. You have let go of so much of that fear and stepped into your power so beautifully. So first off, I just want to say how freaking proud I am
Thank you so much,
of
Matt. Thank
you.
you.
And yeah, I can't tell you how, for everybody who's listening, how important it is that no matter what you've gone through, you know, and again, Caitlin, I know you've had, you know, trauma, and most of us have had trauma around relationship, right? We've had our hearts broken, we've been betrayed, we've been abused or exploited or used. I mean, almost everybody has felt that in some degree or another, including, I'm assuming, many people listening. And what the most dangerous thing we can do in response to that is to shy away from human connection, is to make this connection and correlation, that human connection, that love, that intimacy equals pain. You know, that's the danger zone, because that's when we begin to isolate, right? We begin to isolate, or we just start to, and when we end up alone. Or on the other hand, we go into connection assuming and expecting that we're going to get hurt, which then leads to us either not being vulnerable or just finding toxic partners.
Oh,
Right. One of those two things. Like, you either attract good people and then you can't let them in and you end up treating them like crap because you're not able to open up to them because you're waiting for them to hurt you, or you just find more toxic partners, right? More abusive men, more, you know, people that are users or exploiters or takers,
mhm.
because, you know, you're expecting that, and so you just attract it and you bring it to you. So what's so important is that when we're afraid of something, when we're afraid of connection, is to lean in, to lean into connection, and also lean into the good things that can exist from connection, because, you know, that's where love comes from, that's where empowerment comes from, that's where connection comes from, that's where growth and expansion come from. We got to lean into the resistance we have
Oh, yeah.
around things in our lives, you know, whether it be a relationship or a art form or work, whatever brings us joy, you know,
Mhm.
because trying to cut ourselves off from that to not get hurt, it just isn't worth it.
No, I agree 100%. And, you know, I felt like deep down, you know, I know to reconnect with those things, but just hearing those words in that moment of despair, and you know, and about that topic, that just to lean into that, it was just
Mhm.
beautiful for me. And I've tried to share that with some girls, but of course it comes out much better explained
Uh,
your way.
yeah, I appreciate that. And just the last thing I'll say, around the concepts of fear and shame, and this is again, I'm stealing this from Brene Brown, but shame grows in the dark and fear does too. So the more we try to avoid and suppress and not like look at what we're afraid of or where we have shame around, the bigger it gets and the more it grows and the more it starts to dominate and control our behavior, right? So that's why leaning in, asking yourself, why am I afraid of this? What exists on the other side of that fear? Because for you, right, you were afraid of connecting, you were afraid of being seen in a lot of ways. And you had a very traumatic relationship, which I don't know if you talked about that on your podcast or not, but like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know and understandably you have fear there, but what's on the other side of that fear? What's on the other side of that fear is the love that you're worthy of, is your king, is the beautiful relationship that you 100% get to have in your life. So looking at that fear and leaning into it and moving past it is the key to unlocking all the possibilities
Oh,
in all of our lives.
that's so true. And it provides for me, I know it's provided, I'm still single, but that advice has provided me such a level of, I've like leveled up my confidence, I guess would be the right word. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
it helped me build so much within myself that I didn't realize I was lacking. So I leaned in not
Mm-hmm.
only to that and embraced that, but I also, in a way, leaned into to myself, and was able to just build all that together. So it was just
Amen, my dear. Well, you're
wonderful.
doing great, and you ain't gonna be single for long. Those West Virginia men need to get their friggin' eyes and their brains checked if you don't got 10 guys at your doorstep.
Oh, Matt, you're too sweet.
Just being
so,
real with you.
so the I had this question too. I wanted to ask you. So, and I've wrote all these down so that I don't forget them, and my listeners know that
Mhm.
I'm good for that. I write it all down. We don't miss any points.
You're offsetting your blondness. Yes,
It's
exactly.
exactly right. So, I just want to see what you think of this. This was a question that was brought up as well. If you are studying spiritual awareness, is it possible to experience a good romantic relationship with a person who is not? And if so, where
Hmm.
is that balance and what are some ways you can make that work?
It's a great question, and because spiritual growth and expansion is another huge focus of my life, and
Mhm.
it's been one of the keys to me getting to where I'm at, evolving to the degree that I have, and so spiritual alignment is here's the thing: spiritual alignment is what's important. Spiritual congruency. It's not that you and your partner, you and the person you're in a relationship with, have to have the same beliefs, like that isn't necessary. Like, just for example, my girlfriend Becky Jean and I, she's raised Catholic. She's got the that Catholicism background, and that's her belief system is purely rooted in that. I was raised Episcopal on my mom's side and kind of Americanized Hindu on my dad's side. So I had a very broad upbringing of spirituality. And then I've now stepped into sort of my own spirituality, which incorporates a lot of different elements of a lot of different faiths, so I don't have a singular religious structure that I adhere to, but I have a deep faith and a deep spirituality. And so my girlfriend and I, we have found that our beliefs are congruent, right? Because I don't judge or reject anyone's spiritual practice as long as it does not deliberately and directly harm others. That's where I'm at, and she, even though she was raised Catholic, and Catholics tend to be kind of like our way or the highway, like in general, like Catholicism does kind of have that vibe to it. She's much more open than your standard Catholic, Catholic country girl, and so she's very open and receptive to my faith and my practices, and I'm learning a lot about the beauty of Catholicism and Western religion through her, and so in a way we've sort of brought ourselves closer to God by being open to each other's practices. So yes, it 100% can work. as long as both partners are open and receptive to each other's belief systems, and there's not a massive, they don't massively contradict each other, like a Catholic and a Satanist, probably that probably isn't going to work. The one thing that is a little tricky is if one person has faith of some kind and the other person has no faith of any
Just total
kind,
contrast, complete contrast.
that
Yeah.
I can see that would be very withering to the person who has faith, you
Mhm.
know, and the person who doesn't have faith would be exasperated and frustrated by the faith of the other person. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
in those situations, you got to try to pick your battles here, because
Oh,
if you're
absolutely.
sitting there, if you're wanting to worship and practice and have faith with somebody, and you have your own spiritual practices, and your partner just is like, well, God doesn't exist and we're all just ant food, and
And they're totally
s-
shut down, to any, if they've done.
yeah, if they're shut down to any possibility of faith and they think that yours is shenanigans, then I don't think that's the sort of relationship you want to get into, because that's a massive component of alignment for people that have faith.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I study awareness and spiritual enlightenment, which, that's how I originally came across you in the beginning. I was taking the course with Aaron Dowdy and you did a live feed with him to raise your vibration. And I went over to
Yeah.
that. So, and that was a question in the beginning that I asked as well, because, I'm from Southern West Virginia. Uh, it's mostly 98% Christianity based. That's how I was
Mhm,
raised. And then, but my mom studies more like Buddhism type stuff. So I came
mhm.
over into this and blossomed in it on my own. But yeah, I was a little fearful again of not finding someone open to that belief system that I have that's so important. And that's that's the core of Kate. Like, I every day, like, so to uh
Mhm,
to find that balance is just so important. I absolutely 100% agree. I
mhm.
think as long as you both are willing to grow and learn and like you and Becky Jean off each other, it can really be a beautiful thing. So I'm glad.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean we have to have the same beliefs. Like, I'm never going to have her exact beliefs. She's never going to have mine. She hasn't had my life experience. I've had a wild, I mean, I've traveled with a spiritual healer for 2.5 years around the country, like having all these crazy esoteric experiences, and she went to church every Sunday to a little country church, in South Portland. And that was her experience. And we both had, our own experiences that have guided us to our beliefs, but I honor and respect hers, and she honors and respects mine. And so it's not about having identical beliefs, it's about having congruent beliefs. Your beliefs just have to fit together.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much
Thank
for shedding enlightenment on that.
you.
Thank you. Um, so this is probably the biggest thing that I hear talked about, and the biggest thing that I see in relationships with like my friends and people that listen to the podcast. Here's the red flags. And I actually saw someone post in our Mastery of Connection course. They said, what do you do when he has 5 red flags, but you're a 6 red flag season pass holder? you know,
You're a Six Flags season
that's
pass holder. Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
I love that one.
I thought that was so funny. So if you start a relationship and you begin to see red flags, which are signals to let you know that it's in contrast with how you feel and what you know, and you continue to override the signals, you are literally setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. Not only is this not fair to you, but it's not fair to the other person. So, since none of us are perfect and we all make mistakes, how do you know where to draw that line? How many red flags before enough is enough? And you know that that isn't for you. How do you set healthy boundaries for yourself?
Those are big questions. Well, I mean, those are kind of two questions. I mean, the first one about red flags is that I think that red flags there's degrees of red flags, right? There's a red flag of, being like 10 minutes late to a date, like having that happen a couple times. That's a red flag, right? But that's a minor red flag that maybe his time management isn't great, right? And maybe he needs to work on his time management. That's a red flag that could potentially be overcome and isn't necessarily a sign of his character. You know,
Mhm.
if you see him, after you've been dating a guy for a little while and you continue to see him getting text messages from other women, or he's like lying about things, like that he's lying about things consistently or chronically about different aspects, or he's like he talks poorly about all of his exes,
Oh
you
yeah.
know that's a red flag. That's a red flag that I talk to women about. If a guy, if every ex is a crazy bitch, you know
Yeah.
that's not good,
No.
because that means, well, who's the common denominator in all those crazy bitches? This guy. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So like any guy
Exactly.
who any guy who demonizes all of his former partners and tries to play himself off as the victim is probably a pretty wounded dude. So it's one thing, you want to look at red flags and ask yourself, is this maybe a guy that just has a little growing up to do? Are these things that can be remedied through just having a constructive conversation and setting a boundary, like a timeliness, stuff
Mhm.
like that? Or are these red flags deeper indicators of his character? Are they a sign that he has a very loose relationship with the truth? Are they a sign that he's someone that doesn't really necessarily respect women, because as soon as a relationship is over, he trashes whoever he was with?
Yeah.
Because then you're looking at red flags that are indicators of a foundational character issue
Mhm.
that that would set yourself up for a catastrophic relationship. Listen, relationships aren't going to be perfect in the beginning. We both come in, both partners, right, come into relationships with their own baggage, with their own wounds, with their own projections, and with their own shit. So to sit there and say, this is the other, because the other side of the coin is, I have had women who have been hurt in the past, right, who come to a relationship and they're so hyper tuned, looking for any sign that their person isn't Prince Charming or isn't perfect, that at the first sign of something that isn't, perfect, they blow the whole thing up.
Yeah.
They
Like
sabotage it. And
micromanage. Yep.
yeah, just out of self-preservation, and I get it, but at the same time, like, you got to remember, like, nobody's going to be perfect. Everyone's going to make mistakes. And the question is, like, does the person have fundamentally a good character, and are they committed to, finding a sweet spot and finding alignment with you? So I think, to your first question around red flags, there isn't any one number of red flags. I think it's more of a severity of red flag problem, you
So,
know
yeah.
and also, if they have a red flag and you talk to them about that red flag, you say,
Mhm.
hey, like, say they have that timeliness issue, and you say, hey, I really appreciate it. My time is really valuable to me, and I want to feel like my time is valuable to you too. So when we agree on a time to meet up, it would really mean a lot to me if you could honor that. Because when you don't honor my time, when you show up late consistently, it makes it feel like, like my time isn't important to you. And if you express that to him and he continues
Mhm.
to disregard it, and he continues to show up late, then it shows that maybe there's a deeper disregard for your needs,
Yeah.
which then is a bigger red flag than
Yes.
just the fact that he was being late to begin with.
Yes.
So that's how I would address the red flag thing. And the secondarily question, how do we express boundaries?
Mhm.
Expressing boundaries, you got to always remember with the masculine, especially if I'm talking to the ladies here, you know,
Yeah.
uh, I'm assuming the majority of your audience is female, that when you're expressing boundaries to men, you want to avoid the arbitrary negative, punishing boundaries. The don't do this, stop doing that. You need to take
Almost
out the
like
trash.
mothering. Almost like a mothering type. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're coming at them like they're angry mom, you need to take out the trash because it stinks. you know like make a fucking decision, pick a place to eat, 'cause I'm sick of this, stuff like that. When you're expressing boundaries like an exasperated mother to a man, guess what you're going to do? You're going to aggravate one of his deepest wounds, which most men have, which is their mama trauma, which is the mother wound that most men have, where at some level each man has been at certain points been in deep shit with his mother,
Yeah.
and he's got a wound around that. And so when a woman comes at us in an aggressive, sort of maternal, over the top, because I said so kind of way,
Mhm.
it makes us feel like we're like a little boy that's in trouble with our moms, and we have a tendency to shut down or get super defensive, you know. And so you don't want to be expressing boundaries from that place. Stop touching me there. I don't like it when you touch me there,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
Instead you want to always try to express boundaries as positive construct, and this is again as often as possible, because there's always, of course, there's always going to be places where you do need to say stop it, don't touch me there. I'm not saying there's never a time to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because there definitely is. But if you're
Yeah.
in a relationship with somebody and you're just looking to, you know, gently and lovingly, it's always better to gently and lovingly invite a partner to adopt behavior that you want,
Yeah.
rather than telling
Resonates so
them.
much better. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you do that by making an invitation grounded in a positive feeling statement. You know, I would love it if I love getting texts. What is it? Getting texts from you brightens up my day. And I love having bright days. So it would feel so good if we could chat a little bit more during the day. You
So
see, instead of
just
saying,
shifting
you
that
don't fucking
language.
text me enough,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, exactly. That makes so much sense too. I mean, that's just like the way we talk to ourselves, shifting that language.
Hmm.
It only makes sense to shift that with whoever you're in the relationship with to make that work and flow more in balance. So
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So again, you know, men, fundamentally, a man who's getting to know you, a man who likes you, a man who has any degree of emotional investment to you, your feelings matter to him. So if you tell him it feels good when you blah, I would love it if we did more of this. It makes me so happy when we do this, when you do that, when you acknowledge him and reinforce him. Or it would feel amazing if you planned out our dates 3-4 days ahead of time, you know. That
yeah.
way I have something to look forward to, right?
That's such a more
Like some
beautiful approach. Like that even feels more appreciative of the other person and more grateful.
Yeah.
That
So yeah,
wording.
you can set a boundary with a guy instead of saying like stop setting fucking dates up last minute, bro. You know, instead of telling him that, like, I hate it when you set up our dates last minute. I never know what the hell we're doing. Instead of telling him that, you know, make an invitation for him to adopt a different behavior. Invite him to do what you want him to do and guide him away from doing the stuff that you don't want him to do. and and
Exactly.
your relationship will have a lot more you'll have a lot more congruent behavior from him, and he's going to be happy to do it. He's not going to be doing it from a place of like, oh my gosh, I need to do what she wants or she's going to be mad at me. But it's
Right.
like, oh well, this makes her happy when I do it this way, therefore I love doing that.
That's beautiful. Ladies, I hope y'all have your ink pens out because I'd be jotting down notes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so much more in flow. That feels so much better. So when you're going
Mhm.
into these relationships and things, everybody's always looking for the one. What is your take on soulmates? Do you think there's just one or do you think there's multiple?
Oh, I have a lot to say about that. I don't believe that there's just one person for everybody. I
I
I believe
agree.
Yeah, I believe that there's a spectrum of humans that open up for us as we evolve,
Oh, I'm
as
100% with you on that.
yeah, as beings, you know. And that's why, you know, getting hung up on this concept of the one is fundamentally, it's dangerous, right? Because it's a scarcity conversation, and it's this like Disney brainwashed thing that there's this one person out there. And when you're operating as if there's only one person out there, oh, hold on.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
You're good.
I gotta and when we operate as though there's only one person out there for us, then that puts a ton of pressure on us, right?
Mhm.
Puts a ton of pressure on us to find that person. And then every person, the only question is always, is this person my one or are they not? Right. And
Exactly.
that's shitty, because like when you start operating that way and that person shows you the first sign that maybe they're not the one, then automatically you write them off, you sabotage the relationship, yada yada yada. It just becomes this, it's not a healthy way to be in a relationship, because you can learn so much from partnership from people who aren't your forever person. Like you can have a beautiful 3 month 6 month relationship that can be transformational. Hell, I've had relationships that were never going to be a long-term partner that ended up fundamentally influencing the course of my life, you
Absolutely. Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And so instead of looking at everybody as, are they the one or fuck them, right? Or just like throw them out with the garbage. Instead, ask yourself, is this person in alignment for me right now? And what could they teach me? How could I grow from this connection if I choose to adopt it,
I love that.
and that's how every partner you have, every relationship you have, every connection, hell, every fling you have can be every person can be a teacher. Every person that flows into your life can be a teacher if you're open to that. And I think we have a number of soulmates in our lifetimes. I've had soulmate friends and I've had soulmate partners. I've had both in
I've
my in
I've,
my
I've experienced both as well. Yeah, just
yeah.
for the time that I was in there. I even grew out of, at one time, my ex was a soulmate at that time, for where I was,
Hmm.
where I was vibrating in an energy in that moment. And then I, you know,
Yeah.
just expanded upon that, and we were no longer, but that was beautiful for that time, and beautiful things came from it. So I agree
Yeah,
wholeheartedly.
exactly. Like beautiful things like your little one.
My beautiful girls, yes, they are just
Yeah, your
wonderful.
little ones, plural.
Yeah,
He
they're
managed to do
wonderful.
he managed to do one thing right.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Mhm.
So, my last question for you, Matt, because I know you're so busy, and I'm so grateful that you came on the podcast. I didn't want to take up too much of your time because I know you have so much going on. Um,
It's all
but
good.
man, I'm so honored that you're on here.
It's been so
So,
much fun.
my last question is, what are some practices of awareness that you can do to help you build self worth and self esteem and quality so that you may get enough strength to remove yourself from a toxic relationship?
Mm. Okay, so specifically within the context of removing yourself from toxic relationship. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think one of the first things to look at is to ask yourself, you know, what is it about this toxic when it comes to self-awareness? I think one of the first things to ask yourself is why am I here? Right? What is it about this environment that is like what's the price versus what's the payoff, right? So for every situation that we find ourselves in, every toxic relationship, everything else, there's always a payoff. There's always a reason that we're in it, and a lot of times when we have a toxic relationship, the payoff is it's validating how our own false identity, right? A belief that we're not worthy of love, a belief that we deserve to be treated like shit, right? A belief like our relationships are all mirrors for us, so you can look at a toxic relationship and ask yourself, what is this reflecting back to me about myself? And what's the payoff I'm getting? What's the validation that I'm getting from this partner that I need to work on, right? And a lot of times it's an identity issue of, at a certain level you feel like you deserve it
Yeah.
because this is who I am. I'm unlovable. I'm not worthy of this. I'm blah 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 blah. So really, like, taking a look at this relationship and asking yourself, okay, so what's the payoff? The payoff is I get to be right about the fact that I'm not worthy of love. I get to be right about, the fact that I'm ugly, or I'm whatever, and then, well, where did that come from? Usually it came from, that's what your dad told you were when you were little, or your first boyfriend, or your mother, or whatever. We create these stories about ourselves very early in our lives. And you got to ask yourself, can I possibly know that to be true? Is that objectively true? 100% no. Because once you look at the payoff, being right about these toxic beliefs that you have about yourself, you got to look at the price. What is the price you're paying for adhering to these beliefs? What's the price you're paying for staying in this toxic relationship? You're not happy, you're miserable, you're disconnected from your family and friends, you're being treated poorly every day. The price you're paying is you're sacrificing your life
Yeah,
to
exactly.
be right about some false toxic shit that simply just isn't true, right? So and then you get to recognize that the payoff that you're getting isn't worth the price that you're paying, which is literally your life.
Yeah.
Your life is at stake, right? So then how do we change that? How do we change that is we get to consciously make a decision that, I'm no longer going to act as though I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm no longer going to capitulate to a false reality. And I'm going to choose to believe, I'm going to make a conscious choice to believe something different about who I am. I'm going to choose to believe that I am lovable, that I'm worthy of love. I'm going to start asking myself, what's all the value that I bring to relationship?
Mm-hmm.
That a good person, that a high quality man would be blessed to be with me. My loyalty, my passion, my smile, my beautiful voice, my endless love, my two cute little daughters, like
Thanks.
like what all the value, how much value do I bring to the table that any man would be blessed to be with me, you know? And once you start to ground yourself in that, you're no longer able to tolerate the shit that you were tolerating before, and it starts to give you the belief that there's something else out there. Because I think one of the biggest things that keeps women in toxic relationships is believing that this is as good as it gets, or that
Oh
there's nothing else out there, right?
yeah, 100%. I mean, that was my whole hang up. And now that I've, really done this work and looked in the mirror and faced all these things and made these changes in a conscious effort to, be better, become better and grow, the men that are coming into my into my life are, um, so they're let's find the right word to say, they are totally imbalanced with where I'm at right now instead of who I was
Yes.
then. So I'm
Yes.
seeing a shift in the type of men that are approaching me, and and things like that. And that was something that was kind of like, aha, I see, like a little aha moment. I always say level up. I leveled up me, and it leveled up that. you know.
It's cool how that works. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So are,
yeah.
are your boys, are any of these gentlemen listening to the podcast? So that they just,
Uh, well, they're friends. They're just really good friends. But it's just
uh-huh.
those friendships have just really blossomed into these beautiful relationships. Even the friendships are deeper
Mhm.
and more connected and heartfelt than they
Yeah.
were before, which is just they're it's amazing. It's truly amazing how doing this work and everything that you're talking about, there's so many people that have these questions, and just to provide this for them, as you did for me when I joined the Mastery of
Mm.
Connection course. It provides you all with such a beautiful foundation to start building on, and you just keep stacking those bricks of that, of your journey, of your spiritual awareness and your mindfulness and all of this self-growth, and adding quality to who you are. And in return, the benefit is your new life that you get,
Mm-hmm.
and all the new people just like you, Matt. I met you through this course. And I value your friendship so dearly. And I
Mm-hmm.
get to see, and then I get to see you with Becky Jean on your social media, and that brings me happiness to see you smile and happy, and her. It's a beautiful domino effect all the way around.
It's a ripple. It truly is a ripple. And it all starts. And remember, the ripple starts with you, and every relationship you have and the ripple you make in the world, it's a mirror for where you're at. So as you do inner work, as you decide that you're enough and you're worthy of love, and you're able to sort of forgive the people that have hurt you and release the trauma that you're holding around them and step through all that stuff. I mean, that's where love, expansion, everything, it all exists on the other side of that. So it's magic how this stuff, I mean, there's a reason I decided to commit my life to this work, was
Absolutely.
because I saw how it transformed my life, and I'm like, let me just spend the rest of my life sharing this stuff with other people,
Well, I'm
you
so
know and
glad you
and
hopped
here
on.
I am.
Here you are. No, it is
Yeah,
beautiful. And that's been, the same thing with me. That's the whole reason I have this podcast, because it's been so transformational in my life and the people
I
around.
love it. I
It's
love it, my
great.
dear.
It's wonderful. So don't forget that the Mastery of Connection course, you guys, is next month, right, Matt? Free beta.
Yeah, they just got to go to masteryofconnection.com to apply and sign up. It's free. It's going to be 3 weeks with me live. It's a crazy amount of value. It's a super fun experience. We start August 9th, so
August
about
9th.
a
I'll
month.
put all that in the description below. You guys, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I took this course and it changed my life. It truly did. I highly recommend it. It helped me build a relationship with myself I didn't realize that I was lacking, and in return, build better relationships with everyone around me, from friends to anything else, and the prospects as well. So, and the community that you have in place for this Mastery of Connection, from the student, coach, teachers to the people that sign up for this course, what an amazing unified just online family. Just an amazing group of people.
Lots of love in the room, lots of support. And again, the beta is going to be 3 weeks. It's totally free. All you got to do is just like apply and show up, and you'll get like many hours of live coaching with me and my team, and some great course curriculum too. So it's going to be a blast. Come join us.
It
Maybe
is.
Kate will stop by and say hi.
I will. I'll stop.
You're welcome to come back.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going on the road a little bit, so it might be a little hard.
Oh, she's gonna be busy. Oh, our country music star over here is gonna be a little busy.
I'll come on at some point. You get me on there.
Yes, do a cameo for us. You can sing a song for us. We'd appreciate that.
We'll do a do it at Disney for sure. So it's but it is, guys. Y'all check it out. I'll link it in the description. And Matt, I'm humbly grateful to you, not only for the course that you provided me, but also for taking time out of your day to come on my podcast. I really appreciate it so very much, and I'm so glad to see you happy with your new beautiful Becky Jean. She's just lovely.
Thank you. I'm a blessed man, and I appreciate that, and I'm so freaking proud of you for how much that you've growth that I've seen from you. Just even from the radiant being that you were when I met you, you've just continued to blossom and grow, and I truly feel this is just the beginning for you too as well, my dear. So buckle up, Buttercup. The best is yet to come.
I'm so glad you brought Country Matt out for the podcast. I was like,
oh yeah. I got my Texas. I get my Texas draw. I went to a rodeo last weekend, so
you got your badge.
I'm pretty much. I'm a country boy. I'm a country boy now.
You've been. What do they knight the people? You've been knighted as a country.
I've been knighted as a country boy. I mean, I did spend a year going across Texas, so
You earned it. You paid your dues.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope, as always, that this podcast adds benefit and quality to your life and your well-being. As always, much light and love.